What? An unmodified, low-mileage EK hatch? Does such a car even exist anymore? But wait, does it? Does it? Surely not. The Honda Civic is one of those cars that's really stood the test of time. Much like the Corolla or the Beetle, it's been around for what feels like forever, and unless you've been living under a rock since the mid-20th century, you'll almost certainly have heard of it. Production began in 1972, and today it's in its 10th generation. This 1997 Civic is a 6th gen, and with just 100,000 kilometers on the clock, it's barely run in. Styling wise, the Civic has always been a simple and functional car. Unlike the boxy 80s models, the two designs from the 90s were smooth and curvy. This particular example has lowered springs and aftermarket wheels, which makes it look slightly more aggressive. But in general, it's a very simple and unassuming car. The mild aggression is also uplifted by the subtle side skirts and rear spoiler, but a front splitter, new exhaust and a bit of black paint would turn this very basic looking car into an aggressive little pocket rocket, without the rocket. Because the engine is a D16Y4, 1590cc 4-cylinder petrol engine. In 1997 it made 120 horsepower, but I'd be surprised if it even cracks 3 figures now. It's mated to a 4-speed automatic, and drive goes to the front wheels. Even though there's no tachometer, and the transmission will never let you get there, it redlines at 6,800 RPM. And no, it does not have VTEC. Now even though it only houses a little 1.6, the bonnet is surprisingly long, and because it only has 2 doors and a low roof, this isn't really what you'd call practical. For me to fit, the seat has to be leant back, which in turn reduces the legroom for the already tight back seats. Also, the suspension really doesn't cope if you have too many lads in the back. Boot space is decent, and while the seats don't fold flat, you can certainly get enough things in the back. The gauges are analog and feature a temperature gauge, fuel gauge and speedometer. Higher trim levels featured a tachometer, but this base model doesn't, which is a shame. It's got basic climate control with air conditioning and a simple JVC aftermarket head unit. So that's a quick review of a 1997 EK hatch. A car like this can be picked up for less than $2,000, and as I said before, all it needs is a lick of paint and a splitter and you've got yourself a decent looking, practical-ish hatch with some street cred. Speaking of street, let's see how it goes on the street. Alrighty, here we go in the almighty 1997 Civic 1.6 automatic, also known as quite possibly the slowest car in the whole entire universe. But let's see how she goes. She feels a little old, shall we say, right from the off. It is an old car as of today. It is 22 years old, and she's got not a lot of power, but it does accelerate up to 50. That was full throttle, just about. Head around this way. Handling, let's just say you have to turn the wheel an awfully long way to make it go around the corner. But, you know, it's not too bad. Brakes feel alright. Certainly slow the thing down okay. And, yeah, we get a little bit of rubbing around the corners. That's just because those lowering springs are crappy ones that are kind of soft. But yeah, it definitely feels old and slightly loose. Like it hasn't been maintained very well, but I guess any old car probably feels like this. Here, I'll come out here and give it a bit of an acceleration run. Let's see what it's got. Okay, here we go. I'll floor it now. Kick down. Not the smoothest shift in the world, and for a downhill, it's pretty darn slow, but giddy on. It's not too bad. We'll turn around just here. The way I describe driving an old Civic is that it gets you from A to B, but it's not terribly exciting. It doesn't feel very refined anymore, that is, because the car's now pretty old. And everything about it is just probably below average compared to what I'm used to. Even like a Jazz Sport, which from factory makes less power than this, everything about it, which of course, I mean, you'd expect that from a car 10 years newer, but everything about it just feels like it's actually screwed together, and it responds a lot better because it's, you know, a more modern engine and it's got VTEC. And the real problem with buying an old car like this is that a car 10 years newer would probably cost just about the same, really. You know, cars kind of get to their lowest point and then just sort of stay there. So if you buy a 1990 Civic or a 2000 Civic or a 2005 Civic, they'll all be around $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, you know, which kind of makes buying the older car pointless when you could just have the newer one for roughly the same money, and it'll be more reliable and have more features. If you're just looking to use it as a daily, I can't really recommend this, to be honest. I think you'd be better off just buying a newer one. But anyway, we'll stop right here. Thank you very much for watching this episode, and I will see you guys next time.